The Edmonton Oilers have not won at Rexall Place since October 27th. Those were good times. They had won 4 straight at Rexall. Now they're trying to halt a 5-game losing streak. Tonight's starting netminders, first for the Chicago Blackhawks. It was supposed to be Antti Raanta in net, making his first start since late October. He is not feeling well, so Corey Crawford gets the start again. His 10th consecutive start for the Chicago Blackhawks. Down to the other end after a night off last night, Ben Scrivens is back in net. His last win was that game, October 27th. It was a shutout against the Montreal Canadiens. Since then, he is 0-5-1. Dave Brandorf and Gary Galley with you tonight. Gene Principe along as well as you take a look at Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and the Oilers trying to desperately pick up 2 points before they head out on the road. Gary?
Well, they're a team right now that's just very frustrated with themselves, and I think tonight they've got to have one of those efforts that you take on the road with you. A solid 200-foot, 3-period effort.
Ian Walsh and Chris Lee are the referees. Andy McKelvin and Kyle Murchison are the linesmen. And right away, the Edmonton Oilers dump it into the Chicago zone. Starting the line of David Perron on this unit now with Eberle and Nugent-Hopkins. Benoit Pouliot out 5 to 6 weeks after suffering a broken bone in his right foot last night against the New Jersey Devils. Blocking a shot. So Perron, a guy they need to get going, plays with the big line. Nugent-Hopkins in over the line, dumps it in, and that line will change, and out comes Taylor Hall. Hall now playing on a line with Leon Draisaitl and Teddy Purcell. There's Marcus Kruger snapping a shot, blocked right in front of him, and it bounces out to center ice. Oduya goes across to Jomerson. Smith digging forward along with Marcus Kruger. Joachim Nordstrom, the 3rd member of the Chicago unit. Back to the line. There's a one-time shot by Michael Roosevelt. And Jeff Petrie settles it down in behind his own net. Takes the Chicago bounce, goes into the corner. Petrie swats at it up the boards, and it's kept in by the Blackhawks. Here is Martin Marincin. Marincin, who was a healthy scratch for 5 games, got back into the lineup last night. Nikita Nikitin is a healthy scratch this evening. Keith Ollie gets back into the lineup along the blue line core. Now here comes Steve Pinizzotto, the 30-year-old, who's trying to make the most of this late opportunity here in the NHL. This is his 21st NHL game. Playing his 3rd straight since being called up.
He didn't miss by much there. He had an offside shot there and just over the glove of Corey Crawford.
Here's Boyd Gordon trying to muscle that puck around the edge, rolls the ball. Pins into the corner, they get it free and sweep it around the boards where it is met near side by Andrew Ferris. Hayes shot and a rebound comes into the corner after the initial stop was made by Crawford. Crawford, who by his standards did not have a great night, although they did get the win on Thursday against the Calgary Flames. 3 goals against on 27 shots. But overall, he's had an excellent season. The workhorse for the Blackhawks between the pipes. Here is Duncan Keith. First pass up to number 24, Philip Deneau, who's playing his first NHL game. Blackhawks are a little banged up on the blue line and up front, and so Deneau is getting an opportunity here. Just called up from Rockford.
Going to try to outmatch his buddy Clendening, who scored on his first shot in his first NHL game. His first NHL goal in Calgary the other night. He's going to try to do that tonight if he can do it to match his buddy.
Here comes Perron. He's got 47 shots on net, Gary, and just 1 goal to show for it. He led the Oilers last season in that department. Loose puck for Nugent-Hopkins, one-timer, and the save made by Crawford. Rebound and swept aside. Eberle stays on the puck. He is surrounded by Bickle and Keith, who takes the puck away. Here is Deneau. On his backhand, just trying to keep everything simple. I'm sure his heart rate is up there quite a bit right now. Jeff Petrie, the smooth skating blue liner, in over the line, blasts the shot well wide of the mark. Rebound right to Marian Hossa, and here comes Brandon Saad with Taves. Wide open, Taves in there, scores! Jonathan Taves, wide open, 1-0, Chicago.
When you take risks, and Corey Crawford's made a couple of big saves, And all of a sudden, the Chicago Blackhawks, if you take risks and Petrie comes flying up the ice, he's your defenseman, he takes his shot, he goes for a skate into the corner, a little sachet, and all of a sudden, man, you're done. The Blackhawks are gone. A nice feather pass over to Taves. He cuts in 5 holes. Nice sod pass, nice little saucer. He opens up the 5-hole of Scrivens, slides it right through. When your defenseman rushes up the ice, one of your forwards has to back him up. And if no one's backing him up, the one thing you don't want to do is go for a figure skate around the ice before you get back.
Here they are again, loose puck almost there for Hossa. So once again, the Oilers surrender the first goal. That's now the 6th consecutive game that has happened. Art Fane with a drive, looking for the tip on the near side from Taylor Hall. Saad and Hossa pick up the assists on Taves' 8th of the season. And the play is whistled down.
Well, the difference is, and one of the things the Oilers have really struggled with has been between the pipes. You need a save. And Scrivens, yes, it's a breakaway. Yes, it's a great player coming in on you, but you need a save. Look at the other end. Your team's in there, peppering Chicago, and Crawford doesn't make 1 or 2. He has made 3 solid saves. And the last one, you're going to see a leg save here as he slides his left leg back across. Look how quick he got across that net. And that's the kind of goaltending you need when you're getting peppered. You go down with 1 chance and you're up 1-0.
Shots are 4-1 in favor of the Oilers. They're down to 1-0, and they had a good start last night against the New Jersey Devils. A good first period.
Well, their first and their third period was good. It was just the second period where they lost.
Scores! Loose puck buried by Kruger, and it is 2-0 on 2 shots.
Lost their composure is what I was going to finish saying, Dave. Sorry. The thing about this is, and the Oilers, this is a tough start. This is exactly what you don't want. Everyone's up at the blue line. 2 guys on the puck. Again, the Blackhawks are coming down in numbers. They transition the puck. They take pucks off turnovers, and they make you pay for it. Nice triangular formation by the Blackhawks. Look at 2 guys on the puck. And Kruger sitting right in the slot. People within 5 feet of him don't pick him up. This problem started up ice. Up ice, poor decisions up ice, lead to outnumbered attacks. These lead to goals eventually.
Number 16, Marcus Kruger.
2 goals on 2 shots. Kruger with his 3rd of the season. And what a disastrous start here for the Oilers. You knew this was a tough assignment. Back-to-back, Chicago rolling in. Waiting for them here, watching the game.
Well, especially you got Crawford, who probably had a different regimen today, probably didn't prepare the same way. Took it easy, relaxing. He's going to get finally a night off, and he stepped back in the net. He's been solid. The other guy hasn't stopped one yet.
And the first period continues to be a disaster area for the Oilers. They are now -14 in goal differential, worst in the league. That is the 24th first period goal they have surrendered. They came in 2nd worst. Second only to Toronto coming into action tonight. So they dug themselves a hole here. Out in front is Hendricks. Pinizzato puts it back to the line for Ferris, who moves it across the fin. His wrist shot tipped wide of the mark. Picked up by Hjalmarsson. Floated to the middle of the ice. Fane down and sweeps it back in there. But that is icing against Edmonton.
Good solid hit by Danault in the center ice on Fane. As we'll look at these 2 goals. They come fairly quickly, 5 minutes into the period. Nice pass, backhand pass by Saad to Taves, and he opens up the 5-hole on Scrivens, and then a 2-on-1 that led to out-battle in the corner. A 2-on-2, you get out-battled, and nobody picks up the danger guy sitting off the top of the circle, which was Kruger, and he didn't waste any time unloading that to the net.
2 goals in 55 seconds. Taves and Marcus Kruger. And the Chicago Blackhawks are on the long road trip. And here's a look at the first period woes for the Oilers.
And it's the toughest thing. When you get off to a tough start in a period, it is extremely hard to get back going. And they haven't been scoring enough goals to be able to climb back into games that you're falling behind in.
Goes the ball, wrist shot into traffic. And Brandon Saad picks it up off the inboards. His bank pass. Banks past Adam Clendening, number 6 out there. That's the young man that you were talking about who scored his first NHL goal. on Thursday against the Calgary Flames in his first shot in the NHL.
It's one of those things when you look at the good teams in the National Hockey League, and certainly you class the Chicago Blackhawks there, is they take away your time and space extremely fast. They get on you fast, they turn over pucks, they're north-south moving so quickly. In their zone, they're on top of you. When you go into the Oilers zone, everyone's just a second or two off of getting to the puck quick enough, and good teams will take advantage of that.
Teddy Purcell batting to that puck, scored on Wednesday night against the Canucks. Wraparound attempt. Crawford was there on Taylor Hall. Purcell, another guy they need to start scoring here. That one is offside of the line. We'll take a break. 2-0 Chicago. Jumping on the Oilers early. You're watching Hockey Night in Canada.
Edmonton Oilers during the break, I mean, they're sitting on their bench. The coaches are trying to quietly figure out what they can do to help turn things around. But look at the body language of the players that are sitting there. Very little talking going on. The coaches are keeping to themselves. I mean, this is a team that has struggled. This is a team that wants to do the right thing. They just cannot figure it out. It's not from lack of effort and work. It's just they just cannot figure out the appropriate way to play to help themselves. And right now, just too many mistakes. And against a team like Chicago with 22 first-period goals, 24 now, not the team you want to have a slow start against.
Draisaitl along the boards, tries to dig it free, but Chicago's got it. Seabrook lines and fires a slap shot that goes up and over the net, and Hiram out of play.
We mentioned that the first period the other night against New Jersey was a very solid period for the Edmonton Oilers. In the third period, they were all over New Jersey as well, but Dallas Eakins was saying that they just lost their patience in the second period where 0-0 wasn't good enough. And they opened it up. They had some turnovers. They got a couple of goals scored on them. And then New Jersey are, they're just unbelievable at shutting you down once they get that lead. And Edmonton, for a 10-minute span in the second period, cost themselves a hockey game. And this is the part of the young learning that they have to do, that they got to stick with the game plan and be a little more patient.
Nugent Hopkins wins that draw against Brad Richards, who's now on a line with Patrick Kane and Christopher Steed. A line that many thought he would be on the start of the season, and he was, but it was brief. And now the last couple of games, he has played quite well as Ben Scrivens gets the Bronx cheer for stopping that one. Well, the big question will be answered at last. Who is Canada's smartest person? Tune into the series finale for 2 hours of family fun tomorrow night at 8 on CBC. Canada's smartest person.
Well, Richards had to catch up to the tempo of the Chicago Blackhawks. I think when he first got to Chicago, very different than where he was playing in New York. This is a very up-tempo, fast-paced team. They go north-south as quick as anybody in the league. And he had to adjust to that. And I think practicing with the team, getting some reps in games, I think Brad Richards is probably skating as good as, I think Joel Quenneville said today, as good as he's seen him skate in the last few years. And I think he's getting better and better. Therefore, now, appropriate time to get him on that line and get him going.
Played career game number 1,000 last Sunday against one of his old teams, the Dallas Stars. He had 2 assists in that game, his 18th game with Chicago. And Joel Quenneville said it was his best game he's played for him this season, by far.
Loves his puck patience. It's one of the things he said this morning that he has, that he really didn't realize how good he was at it. The fact that he will take the puck and be very patient with it. He doesn't rush with it, and he makes good calculated plays. And this is a guy who scored some really big goals in really big games, and moving over here from New York, it's a big change. It's a whole different team and a whole different system they're playing.
Well, you're right. Even though he's played 1,000 games, he's had a lot going on, and it is adjustment for any player to move to a new team, especially this team. He's become a father recently. His wife, who's originally from Australia, has to find a new doctor, deliver the baby, all that stuff. But it's all behind him now. And
all that fun stuff when you're a player.
Yeah.
You go play every night, and your poor wife has to take care of the rest.
Here's Kane now. Kane shoots, hits the post as it was redirected on the way in. And a penalty call coming up here. And it's against Keith Auley.
Little push at the end of this deflection by Carcillo, who had a beautiful goal the other night in Calgary. Down the wings, nice snapshot that caught the top corner. And right here, Auley throws this around the wall, and again, they can't control it on the wall. And it generates a puck from the point that comes to the net. Carcillo with a really nice deflection. as Yakupov just falls down. I mean, these are the myriad of errors that happen as you see Carcillo go into the post, and there's your penalty for Ollie, who was pulled and sat out a game due to a turnover he had in the Vancouver game, and tonight the one around the wall, Yakupov can't pull it off for him.
So Chicago's power play goes to work. They're tied for 18th overall, but number 6 on the road. Kane snaps a shot. Scriven's got a piece of that with a blocker. 8 road games for the Blackhawks. They've got a power play goal in 6 of those. Here's Keith with a blast right on, and Scriven steers that aside. And the crowd's really giving it to him. Caves in behind the net, chases that puck into the corner. Ferris is down there as well, squirts free out in front of the net, shoveled to the line and out by Fane.
I will say this for Ben Scrivens in his defense. Both those chances are grade A quality scoring chances. A breakaway with one of the better players in the league and a guy point blank in the slot. But at the same time, when your team needs you to make a save, you got to make a save, at least one of those.
Duncan Keith can hold the line. He'll have to back up, and he goes across to Seabrook. Brent Seabrook, one of the Western Canadian boys in this Chicago lineup. He'll be near his hometown tomorrow night as the Blackhawks are playing the Canucks. Here's Adam Clendenning, starts up the ice.
They love coming on this Canadian swing. A lot of them have families and friends out here that they don't see in a long time, and they're excited about coming to Canada to play.
Bickle reaching for that puck, banks it, tried to get it to the line for Richards, and instead it's sent down by the captain, Andrew Ferris.
Good job by the Oilers penalty killers, making sure that once you get a hold of that puck, it's a 200-foot clear. Get it down, make Chicago go all the way back and get it. Nice read by Nugent Hopkins right there.
Edmonton's penalty kill was perfect last night, 2 for 2 against the Devils. Here's a turnover right to Marinson, and it bounced off of his stick. Clendenning back defensively, put it in the corner, but Nugent Hopkins takes a little more time off the clock. 3 seconds remaining in the Ollie penalty. He steps out of the box now. Here's Big Bickle. Ryan Bickle, one hand on his stick, gets it to Richards. No help available, but he puts it back into the corner for Hossa. Hossa up top. There's Jalmerson with a drive. That hits Marinson. They try to center it, and it comes back to Nicholas Jalmerson. Richards waiting behind the net to Saad. Deflected up and over his stick, and Chicago turns it over to Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl looking for late help, was looking to get it to Purcell, and he was a little soft in our pass attempt, and it was broken up.
I agree. I just like the pass right onto the Oilers.
Petrie with a blast. Hall corrals the puck. Oduya takes it away from him. Draisaitl was there as well, and here is Jalmerson. They'll put this one out to center ice. Ollie reaches up. Big tall reach it is, 6'6". He's punished along the end boards. There's Purcell, and it is contained there by Corey Crawford, who hangs on. 8:47 to go here in the first. 2-0 Hawks on Hockey Night in Canada.
Back, Gary and Dave referenced the fact the Edmonton Oilers are without Benoit Pouliot. He blocked a shot in the second period last night, and he went straight to the bench and eventually for x-rays, and by the time the second intermission was nearly complete, news that he was out 5 to 6 weeks. Now these are the skate protectors. Only 2 Oilers, Jeff Petrie and Keith Ollie, wear them. And despite the Benoit Pouliot injury, Dallas Eakins says while it was unfortunate, he still wants his players to continue blocking shots.
Yeah, they won't stop that anytime soon. It is a hazard of the business. Did you ever have one of those skate things on your...
I never had a skate thing, but I've had my foot broken from a slap shot just like that.
Who took it?
A guy in Quebec by the name of Tataranoff. He had a bullet, and he was dumping it into the zone, and I was skating backwards, and it was right on the top of the laces, just like that, and it sends a pain right through your teeth.
Oilers dumping it into the corner there. Everly goes in after it. Here is Nugent Hopkins. Over to David Perron as they swing it around the backside. Ollie, no lane to shoot, banks it up to Everly, and he put it out in front, and that is broken up. Joachim Nordstrom, another one of the recent call-ups from Rockford. Chicago without Patrick Sharp right now. He is out with a leg injury that he suffered against the Montreal Canadiens in early November.
Well, Pouliot, I don't think he's off to a amazing start here in Edmonton by any means. I think they expected more from him, but at the same time, he's a big body, he's a veteran player and a veteran presence, and they will miss him, as he is not in the lineup and will not be, as Gene said, for the next 6 weeks. And everybody shifts around, and Perron moves up, and here's a guy who they could use to score.
1 goal for David Perron, November 1st against the Vancouver Canucks. 28 goals to lead the team last season.
And he was the most vocal of all the Oilers after the loss the other night. I mean, he was upset emotionally. He was fed up, and you could just tell he wasn't a happy guy.
Here comes Taves trying to dance around Fane, and he lost control of the puck. But they keep it in the corner. Back to the line for Brent Seabrook. Seabrook down low. There is Hossa. Hossa, who by his standards is off to a slow start. And Seabrook over to Duncan Keith. With just under 27 minutes on Thursday, his blast almost bounced dangerously out in front for Chicago. No Andrew Shaw in the lineup either for the Blackhawks. Guy scored 4 goals against Edmonton last season. Here's Pinizzotto, loose puck, and that is chopped away by Duncan Keith. Here comes Saad at center. Steps in and steps into by Jeff Petrie. Good solid hit there. Matt Henricks now. Flips it in there for Pinizzotto. Pinizzotto around the edge. Centers it back for Nugent Hopkins. His blast. Pinizzotto the rebound, and Henricks is there as well. Pinizzotto's stick broke there. Merchant keeps it in. Puck on edge as he laid into that one, and it goes back up to center for Jordan Eberle. Eberle can't get it past Keith, who resets with Michael Roosevelt. The veteran with a long stretch pass up to Christopher Stieg, the Lethbridge, Alberta boy. Played junior also in Lethbridge and in nearby Red Deer.
Kind of a home game to get in front of those long stretch passes Chicago makes. They just get them 3 zones up the ice and into your zone way too fast.
Here's David Perron now. Passes a little bit behind him, goes in behind the net. Cycles it back for Nugent Hopkins and Eberle. Now R&H try to get it to Eberle. Back to the line for Ferris. Pass just out of the reach of Fane, so he just sticks it around the boards. Here's Jordan Eberle again. Eberle being watched there by Ben Smith, and Chicago comes away. Smith goes back and forth with Kruger, who's got the second Chicago goal, and Scrivens will hang on to that one for the faceoff when we come back to Rexall Place. Petrie laying down the law onside.
It was 9:30 a.m. this morning when Dallas Eakins decided that the team would hit the ice, and in about 15 minutes into their morning skate, it was the coach with the general manager in the stands that did all of the talking. And once Dallas Eakins was finished, you don't often see this, but one by one the players just left the ice. Now Eakins jokingly said that he wouldn't tell people what he said. They'd have to wait for his book, and we'll have to see what chapter the Oilers write tonight.
Oh, he's always quotable, that's for sure, Gary.
Right now, as coach, they need goals.
Clendening now drifts one into traffic that hits a body in front. Adam Clendening from Niagara Falls, New York. His parents are here tonight.
The school at Boston U. For a good friend of mine, Buddy Towers, who's an assistant coach there. We were chatting about him this morning. Said he scored his goal, and he had a text there waiting from his old coach in U. And again, it's, all the talk in the world is when you're losing, you have meetings about the next meeting, and here's a look at Clendening. And
105 points the last 2 seasons with Rockford. This guy can pile up the points for sure. He told me this morning that was the best one-timer he's ever had. He didn't even feel it leave the stick as he hammered it past Jonas Hiller for his first NHL goal.
Heck of a saucer by Marian Hossa. It landed, it landed on impact. I asked him how close was that when it landed. He goes, maybe a couple of inches on the ice.
Here's Philip Deneau in his first NHL game. Trying to spin away from some pressure, given a shove by the 19-year-old Leon Draisaitl. Here's Bickle, wraparound, throws it in front, and it's pushed in behind the net where it's scooped up by Hall. To the line, not out. Chicago will change, and that'll give Edmonton a chance to get this out of their own zone here. 4.5 minutes to go. Shots are 4-4. Seabrook chops that along the boards. Hall got a little stick check there on Seabrook, but Chicago has the puck. And they've got it to you-know-who. Taves trying to go across the side. And it goes into the corner. Here's Hossa out in front. Ends up with Seabrook. Shoots. Scores. Seabrook with a shot. May have been tipped right in front. And it is 3-0 Chicago.
They hunt as good as anybody. They track the puck down. Their game is finally coming together. Joel Quenneville was talking about it this morning, saying he really liked their game. They're skating well. They're hunting down the puck here. It's all about puck possession and puck management. They keep it down below your goal line. And here, I think a bit of a lucky break as Hossa throws this out. I don't think he hits his intended target right here. He misses Taves, but Seabrook is right in the right spot, and as he lays this to the net, it may go off Taves' stick as it's sitting right in front of Scrivens' glove. So we'll see whether or not Taves got a piece of it or if it'll go to Seabrook. But a bit of a lucky break. You got to be good to be lucky as Hossa tries to throw that to Taves, and it lands right on the stick of Seabrook.
They're giving it to Seabrook, so that is now goals in 3 straight games for the veteran blue liner. He can hammer it, you know that.
Time 15 minutes, 56 seconds.
So 3 goals on 5 shots for Chicago tonight. And this place is dead quiet.
At 56.
It's a very fragile state that you're in. And you said it to me in the break, Dave. They could get a goal. They're right there.
Nugent Hopkins tried to center it out to Perron. Yeah, the old 2-goal game. I mean, they make it 2-1 in this game on, but 3-goal lead is a different story against this team.
Now you've given up that third one, and it's going to be tough climbing now.
Against one of the top goals against teams in the NHL. They allow just over 2 a game.
2 years they won the Stanley Cup. They were 1st and 5th in the league in goals against. The years they won it. And right now they're sitting in 2nd with 2.05 goals against per game, which is pretty good.
Chicago back to work. There's another one-timer there by Clendening. Here's Kruger now. Digs it out of the corner, spins it back. Ben Smith waits for it. Smith trying to dance away from his check of Keith Ollie. Rolls the ball. Back into the corner they go. Smith pinned there by Ollie. Boyd Gordon down low as well against Kruger. And it's Gordon who digs it free and shovels it down the ice.
I can't imagine how worn out you are just psychologically, mentally from everything that's going on here, and the fact that you want to win games, you want to play good, and when you're not, it just you don't leave it at the rink. You take it home with you. You think about it all the time, and it's tough. I've been in the situation before as a player. It's not a fun thing to be in.
Jesse Joensuu trips up Danault there. Joensuu back in the lineup after sitting out a couple. Healthy scratch the last 2. Here's Danault. He passes in his skate. Good kick saved there by Scrivens on the redirect right in front. Seabrook back to get it. Brent Seabrook now his 6th goal of the season. He had 7 all last season. Here comes Saad now. Saad has a puck poked away from him, and Taves follows up. Jonathan Taves trying to center it, and he doesn't get it over the sprawling Taylor Hall. Off the window and out to center ice.
He is flying. Jonathan Taves is absolutely flying.
Purcell breaks that up, feeds Hall, and back defensively are the Hawks. Jarmerson and Oduya. Here's Hall now. Tries to get out of two. Purcell shoots. Crawford makes the save and covers up the rebound. Well, the big question will be answered at last. Who is Canada's smartest person? Tune into the series finale. 2 hours of family fun tomorrow night at 8, right here on CBC.
3 goals at 6 shots, and I'll tell you what, it could have been 4 if not for this save by Ben Scrivens. All over the Oilers in their zone, slow to get to the pucks, that leaves pretty good chances. And then Hall gets away with an interference penalty on Oduya, and that sets up a point-blank shot right in the high slot. Crawford makes the save, no rebound.
Kruger wins that face-off. He had a good face-off night Thursday against the Flames.
Last minute of play.
As we're now to the final minute of this opening 20. Nordstrom in there against Justin Schultz. Puck comes free for Chicago. Quick shot, and Scriven's got a piece of that on Kruger, almost from the same spot he scored from earlier tonight. Eberle gets it away to Schultz and receives the return feed. Eberle working against Hjalmarsson, who steers that one into the corner, and it comes up the boards. Penalty call coming up here.
Jordan Eberle, and he's not happy about it. And you may have an argument. We'll have a look at it here as he gets tangled up with Hjalmarsson to the right of Crawford, and it really at first glance the penalty, you're not really sure which way it was going, whose hands are hooked into whose. And I think it's a kind of a call that sometimes you just got to let it go. Two players are jockeying for position, their gloves and sticks get all caught up. I think you got to just think that's a good battle going to get the puck. But unfortunately, taking a penalty with 29.9 seconds to go and already being down 3-0.
Good face-off win, and it's sent down the ice. Second power play attempt for Chicago tonight.
The one good thing they did do in this period, the Oilers, was they had a really solid penalty kill against the Blackhawks earlier in the period.
2 shots for Chicago on their first power play attempt. Here comes Kane. Kane who scored the game winner against the Flames. Seabrook now takes a look, fires it right on, and Scrivens makes the save.
When you get behind, it's just a scratching and clawing. It takes so much energy to get back into it, and here you look at how often the Edmonton Oilers have been falling in behind, and it takes 3 times as much energy to get back into games. And you look at one of the teams this year in the National Hockey League, Montreal Canadiens have made it.
Kane, one last shot, and one last shot blocked for Edmonton. As the first period comes to an end, 3 different goal scores for the Chicago Blackhawks against Ben Scrivens as they head to the locker room to refocus and regroup. 3-0 Chicago on Hockey Night in Canada. Welcome back to Edmonton. Almost set to start the second period here. It is 3-0 in Chicago. About 3 hours before face-off time, you got Joel Quenneville arriving with assistant coach Kevin Dineen for work.
Well, the two of them know each other very, very well, as you see them both in these Hartford Whalers sweaters. And then again in this team picture, they were best of buddies. They were the best men at each other's weddings. And now they are on the same bench together for the Chicago Blackhawks. And Joel, of course, more head coaching experience. Kevin with the Florida Panthers, and did a great job with the women's program, winning the gold medal at the Olympics. And now the two buddies are back together again.
Great story, Gary, and I think it's just awesome that you bring your hockey cards on the road with you all the time. Great.
I don't even think I had a hockey card back then.
So the second period begins, and Oilers fans out there want to see how this team responds after a very shaky first period. Duncan Keith has the puck in his own zone on the fresh ice, and he starts up. Near side feed for Taves. Keith keeps that in, gets it to Chris Versteeg. Versteeg chops it off the boards. Penalty call coming up here to the Oilers right away. As that shot goes wide, Crawford makes a long skate to the bench, and the puck is touched up, and now it is a Chicago power play. Third one tonight.
Edmonton Oilers are not going to get back into this game if they continue to waste time taking penalties. Both these teams are fairly disciplined teams, and here you see Nugent Hopkins getting the stick on the arms of Versteeg. They rank second and third in the National Hockey League in the least amount of penalties, so they don't take a lot. And tonight, Edmonton, the first 3.
Eberle's still in the box, so this is a 5-on-3 for 40 seconds. Back to the line for Keith. Told you that Chicago's power play on the road, dangerous for Versteeg. Goes across to Hossa. Hossa to Duncan Keith. Taves parks it front. Here's Versteeg. Centers it, and Scrivens paddle down, makes the save, and hangs on.
Maybe there's just the reason why is because Chicago's allowed 4 shorthanded goals against this year. They rank last in the National Hockey League. Maybe Edmonton figures maybe that's a weakness they have. They could score shorthanded. As combined, both these teams have combined for 7 shorthanded goals against.
Chicago only allowed 6 all of last season. Face-off win back to Duncan Keith. And here is Hossa. They'll put it in the corner. Quickly across for Steve. Great stop there. Scrivens. Rebound. Scores. He came across, made the save. Puck stayed loose. And Jonathan Taves bangs it home.
You could tell he was ready to play when the puck dropped. He scored the first goal of the game. He's going to get another one here, and he was a big part of the third one as well. And just strong on the draws. They won 63% of them in the first period. Possession all the time. And when you give a team like Chicago possession, man, they're going to draw penalties. And right there, they bounce this back across the net. Scrivens may eventually just kick this in. This isn't Jonathan Toews' goal. It's going to be Versteeg's. As the left leg of Scrivens comes back and just knocks that back into the net. But you just can't, I mean, 5-on-3s are tough enough to kill. Especially when you're down 3-0 and now 4.
And it's still a power play for another minute 15. The hard snap shift there by Saad and stopped by Scrivens. Toews with his second of the night, his second 2-goal game of this young season. And it's 4-0. Hossa strips the puck at Saad, heads back, Bickle open, shoots, and he missed on the glove side. Banks all the way back to Clendening. Goes to Richards. Back up top to Adam Clendening. There's a shot from Hossa. Back to Clendening. Takes a look. Slap pass. Ends up in the corner for Saad. Now it's near side for Brad Richards. Richards beats it back to Hossa. Into the corner. With it now is Saad. He's surrounded, but he puts it back in deep. Bickle parks right in front. Centering attempt off a skate to Saad. Up top for Clendening. 24 seconds to go in the Chicago power play. Also picks that away from Marincin. Some tired penalty killers on the ice right now for Edmonton. Richards looking for the tip from Saad. And he couldn't finish on the business end of that. Saad out of the corner. Goes to Clendening. Clendening shoots. Scrivens a save. Rebound. Scores. And this is now a nightmare.
Well, Marian Hossa, who hasn't scored in quite some time, 9 games. He does so many other wonderful things for your hockey club, so you never really worry about him. He's finally going to get off the schneid here. And you can see him look up into the stands as the Edmonton Oilers here is the straw that broke the camel's back here. As Klosh is going to come into the net here. Just puck to the net, rebound. No boxing out, hard to get containment. And Marian Hossa is sitting all by himself, and things have just become unraveled for the Edmonton Oilers. This is 5-0, and you've still got 2 full periods of hockey to play. And the Chicago Blackhawks are flying.
Scrivens, who allowed 3 goals on the first 5 shots he faced in the first period, surrenders a couple more here on the power play to the Blackhawks. 5-0. Fost, who played last night against the Devils, allowing 2 goals on 26 shots. It was his first start at home, and the struggles continue for Ben Scrivens, who started very shaky to the season, then had a real nice stretch of 5 games where he was quite good, including a shutout of the red-hot Montreal Canadiens. But he has struggled since.
Get in line with a whole bunch of other Oilers. I mean, I think at some point something's got to give. I don't know where you start, but something's got to give soon because, you know, eventually this gets to a point where you've got to make a move or do something.
Purcell battling for that puck around the blue line there. Trying to get it out of the zone, and it comes to center ice. Here's Hall. Got to make something happen, anything. Up for Taylor Hall, tipped into the Chicago zone. Crawford out of his net, sweeps it to Dormerson, and they're away. Toews, bank pass up to Saad. Saad will drop it off. Here's Dan Carcillo, sweeps that in front. Toews had his stick tied up. Keith scores! Oh, boy.
This starts deep in Chicago's end. And Jonathan Toews, who we've been saying has been absolutely on fire, is going to come almost 200 feet of the ice and be right there in the other end. Watch this little breakout off the wall. Indirect pass to Saad. They stretch the ice out like nobody's business. Oilers are falling down everywhere. Everybody's back at the net. No one at the point. Keith walks right into it. When you look at Seabrook's goal, all by himself, blasting it from the point. Keith, all kinds of time to walk in and tee it up. You're over back checking. All 5 of you are at your net, but the points are wide open. And guys like Seabrook and Keith, I mean, they can bring it.
And they're right back in there. Taves swings it around. Gordon stuck with him just enough. And they're back at the center. Hit is on. Challenged immediately there by Duncan Keith.
The time, 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
3 goals in 2 minutes and 34
Blackhawks
seconds
goals
for
were by
Chicago as they have completely blown this one wide open, if it wasn't already. Cave sweeps this one down the ice in there on Fox. And you can tell by the crowd, a crowd that moved the Oilers off the ice last night, and now they're leaning on both of their goaltenders here tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, Canada Post.
People try to look at the Edmonton Oilers and think that things have gotten a bit better, and the record certainly isn't indicative of that, as they're pretty close when you look at 20 games last year and where they're sitting right now. And the goaltending, I think, is kind of been the same as well. The save percentage are almost mirroring each other. So where they were 4 wins after 20 games last year, they're going to be 6 wins after 20 this year. So it's not like there's a whole lot of improvement that you can really grab onto if you're an Oilers fan.
Good there on the forecheck, bumps Petrie, who tries to get tangled up with the young Philip Deneau, the former Victoriaville junior, and Moncton, but he's from Victoriaville. Former captain there. Here's Arcabello now, tries to center it out in front, ends up with a point for Ollie. Ollie with a slap shot off a stick. Arcabello out of the corner. In back for Jesse Joensuu. Joensuu knocked off the puck, rolls the ball to the line, kept in. Ollie on his backhand, puts it back in there. And it's cleared. Back at the center ice, here's Carcillo. Carcillo snaps his shot, and you're right, he scored a real nice one on Thursday night against the Flames. This is Carcillo's second stint with the Chicago Blackhawks. Johnny Oduya. Now over 600 games played for Oduya, centering a tempo Richards. Got into traffic, but he's got the puck back. For Steve with his back to the net, couldn't turn and get a shot away. Justin Schultz, up to Hall. Hall inside the line, drops it for Schultz, that's through his legs and picked up by Versteeg. Long stretch pass to Patrick Kane. Kane back to Versteeg. They got Richards up there, circling around as well. Richards out of the corner with Kane in front. Here's Versteeg. Stick is tied up before he can release the shot. Now Ferentz gets that one away to Leon Draisaitl. Near side for Purcell. Off of the inboards, and now Nordstrom with a head of steam at center ice. Here the back check is Ferris, who takes the puck away from him.
Their exits are so clean, Chicago. I mean, there's just no resistance from the Edmonton Oilers. It's on the stick, 2 passes, and they're flowing through the neutral zone.
Icing waved off on that play. 7 minutes into the second period here. 6 goals on 15 shots. Everly now on his horse down the left side, tries to work it around. Seamus got the shot away from a sharp angle, and Crawford stops it and hangs off. Chicago having their way in Edmonton tonight.
Well, Nail Yakupov, who took a stick in the mouth towards the end of the New Jersey game last night, playing with the Shield tonight, takes a little whack on the back of the legs, and when you're losing 6-0 and someone does that to you, you got to show some ugly, and he does that as Clendening actually makes the play with his left foot. Good sharp play by the young defenseman in only his 2nd National Hockey League game, and there you see Yakupov, who got quite a few sutures on the chin.
Javitsky did a lot of damage last night.
Yeah, blocked and broke Pouliot's foot, and then out of nowhere he whacks Yakupov in the face off the face-off when the puck wasn't even near them. One-man wrecking crew.
Edmonton had an offensive zone face-off there moments ago, but here they are back in their own zone, chasing the puck that is kicked up and out of play.
You know, one of the things Chicago is going to have a tough time with, they got Kane and Taves. They suck up about $21 million on the cap. And the other 15 guys, about $65 million. So you still got to fill 6 roster spots into next year's cap. And that's going to be a trouble. And Joel Quenneville knows that his players realize that now is the time. Because if you don't win with this group now, there's going to be a lot of changes next year. Leddy was just one of the changes they had to make in order to, get underneath the cap and start to make room. And they didn't want to let him go. They had no choice. But next year, it'll even be harder. So now's the time to win. He said the last time they won the Cup, they realized that as well.
They were one game away from getting to the Stanley Cup final last season. And another penalty call coming up here. It's going to be a slash. And you can hear the reaction from the fans as this is going against Teddy Purcell. Well, it's the 5th annual RBC Sports Day in Canada. Communities across our nation will celebrate the power of sport as Scott Russell quarterbacks the broadcast next Saturday, 2 Eastern on CBC.
I know when you whack a guy's stick, if it breaks, you get a penalty, right? Because you broke his stick. His stick didn't break. He sort of whacked it out of his hand. Again, I guess it's a penalty because he whacks him, but I just think sometimes there's just some good battling going on, and his hand didn't go up right away. He waited a second, and the Edmonton Oilers are again short-handed.
4th power play of the night. The Edmonton Oilers came into the night with the 3rd fewest penalty minutes in the league, but they're paying the price here tonight. Chicago's 2 for 3. Of course, they had a 5-on-3 to start this second period. 7 shots in their power play opportunities so far. Here's Seabrook. He's got a goal tonight. Jonathan Toews, he's got a couple. And Keith just missed his second goal right there. Sent down the ice. Duncan Keith in his 10th year. Gets it to Seabrook. Ian Seabrook, top 20 in all-time games played in Blackhawk history. Seabrook just played his 700th game.
What a pairing they are, too. They just complement one another so much. If you ask Duncan Keith, he'll tell you how important Seabrook is to his game. And Seabrook, of course, the Norris Trophy winner, Duncan Keith, who since 2010 leads all defensemen in the NHL in scoring. And Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, how much do they mean to this organization? You look at their numbers, I mean, one over 500, one approaching. The playoff goals, that's the incredible part. And believe it or not, combined, 17 of those playoff goals are game-winning goals. These are clutch times players, and this duo, you could argue that one of the strongest duos in the history of the Chicago Blackhawks. They've had a few beauties.
Both of them had 4 game winners each last year in the playoffs. 44 seconds to go in this 4th power play attempt for the Blackhawks. Hossa snaps it in there. Hossa is on the score sheet tonight. Recently quoted saying, I can't remember a slower start to any season I've ever played in the NHL. Again, those are his standards. Here's Richards now. Wines takes a look, shot right on, and the rebound goes into the corner. Saad puts it back behind the Oiler net. And the veteran Boyd Gordon flips this one down the ice. Back forward is Adam Clendening. Clendening, a 2nd round pick from the 2011 draft. And what a draft year it's turning out to be for Chicago.
Mickle took that one off the laces as well. He's trying to shake it off on the bench. You're going to feel that one.
Chalmerson corrals the puck, snaps it into traffic, goes in behind the net. Here's Kruger. Another one of the goal scorers for Chicago tonight. Power play is over. Purcell now has it. Teddy Purcell. Purcell just 3 goals so far. This is first season as an Oiler. Keith Auley leads into his man, and O'Dea comes over to Havercock. So does Kruger, and some light as Auley rattled the boards and draws the crowd.
What a solid hit by Auley on Smith. The one thing that happens when you get up 6-0 is sometimes you let your guard down a little bit. You got to remember, the team you're thrashing 6-0, they're getting awful upset, and they're not going to take very kindly. What a solid hit.
Auley levels Smith.
Well, here's a look at the two combatants, and good on Kruger to stick up for his teammate who took a pretty hard thug here. O'Dea gives Smith a pass, and again, as he receives the pass and unloads it, O'Dea's upset because Auley tracked it coming across, and boy, you saw the velocity of that hit when he drove into the wall, and O'Dea and Kruger were on top of Auley right away. and a 2-minute and a 4-minute, so the Edmonton Oilers will get on a power play here. Their first power play. They spent a lot of the night in the box. As Carcillo will serve the extra 2 for Kruger coming in.
So a chance here to get some life and to get on the scoreboard. They are 25th overall, 21st at home with a man advantage. They went 0 for 4 last night.
I think you just got to, like, all these hit, play with some edge.
Yeah.
Play with some ugliness. Like, you're not going to win this hockey game, so at least you can bite back a little bit. Show you got some bite in you. And I think that's going to go a long way here. But if you just keep sitting back and taking and receiving, you know, it's going to get worse.
Gordon out there to take the draw, wins it back to the line. Here's Hall off the half boards, puts it in there, and providing the screen was Gordon, but Crawford made the stop.
One of the stories tonight, and we almost forgot about it, was, you know, was Ranta not playing tonight. And it was his first game in a month. He hadn't played in a month, and you look at, you know, that's a long time for a goalie not to play. So you know he had to be really sick not to come in tonight, and also not having to have his buddy Crawford go in and play on a night he was supposed to get off.
So you get Crawford instead of Ranta. There's a blast up high, and a glove save by Crawford. Knocked it down, but wasn't able to hang on to it. Purcell trying to dig it free. Draisaitl there as well. Jonathan finds some open ice and brings this one down the ice.
In that month, you have to understand, Darling came up. Remember the Chicago native who came in and played so well. Got his first win in Chicago. We were there for that game. And he took 3 games in that month, too. So, and the Blackhawks haven't played a lot of back-to-back games, so you're not going to get Ranta in very often. So tonight was one of those nights.
Here comes for Steve, back the other way, short-handed, steered aside there by Foss. Edmonton turned to the short-hander on Wednesday against the Canucks, and they allowed a short-handed breakaway last night against the Devils. Here's Hall trying to get out in front. Back into the corner it goes for Steve, digs it free off the skate of Saad, and back out to center.
The best penalty-killing units in the National Hockey League are right here in the Chicago Blackhawks dressing room. They did allow a couple against Calgary the other night, which is a real oddity this year so far. They're up around 90%.
First in the NHL, third on the road, and you're right, 2 power play goals against Thursday night. That was the first time that happened all season. Now here comes a chance, short-handed again, racing away. Roach peeled off. Ben Smith was tied up and couldn't get a shot away. And now here comes Perron with 20 seconds to go in the power play. Stepping in over line, backhand drive by Yakupov, and that's handled by Crawford. Nugent Hopkins to Petrie. Petrie into the corner, Yakupov quickly back to Nugent Hopkins, shoots in. Crawford got a piece of that. Everly. Perron in the corner. For Steve now, as the penalty is over, and it's still 6-0.
Power play for the Edmonton Oilers has really struggled of late. And this power play really wasn't that bad compared to some of the ones we've seen in the last game, especially 4 power plays, including a 5-on-3, and they didn't even get a shot on net the other night versus New Jersey. So when you look at tonight's power play, not bad. It's got to get you some positive feelings when it's done.
Matt Hendricks takes the shot, but play is whistled down. We got another penalty call coming up here.
2 number 13s. We're having some words coming through the neutral zone. Pinizzato and Carcillo. And Carcillo might have taken advantage, Pinizzato, as he got him to drop his gloves. And once his gloves hit the ice, that's an automatic unsportsmanlike conduct. And right, we're watching coming up through the neutral zone, turns around. And again, why would Carcillo want to take on this fight in a 6-0 hockey game? He's like, buddy, I'm not going to take this fight on. Why would I? And we witnessed one of those the other night in Montreal with Ronaldo and Trust in a 3-0 game. And that's a smart play. Carcillo knows better.
So 5th power play attempt now for the Blackhawks, as this one's hammered down the length of the ice. Pinizzato trying to get something going, but you're right. Made the mistake of dropping those gloves. Pinizzato, who got into a fight against Derek Dorset here on Wednesday, his first game with the Oilers this season. And the Gordie Howe hat trick that night. Here is Duncan Keith. Versteeg has that swept away from his stick. Following up is Patrick Kane. Kane backs it off the boards for Steve. Now the boards he goes. That's met by Marincin. Hard along the glass. Kept in there by Seabrook. Quickly across to Keith, who gives it back to Brent Seabrook. Richards lurking around. Gets the feed from Kane. Back to the line for Seabrook. Snaps a shot. And that rebounds all the way back out to center and beyond. Back in towards Corey Crawford.
What nice movement between Seabrook and Keith. They get into the zone, they establish the puck, and it's two full-length blue lines, D to D, that opens up all the lanes for the Blackhawks, and then they attack you.
Break the ice with Icebreakers, official mint of the NHL.
Marian Hossa is such a valuable player for the Chicago Blackhawks, and here's a look at the winger that will most certainly be in the Hall of Fame. And you mentioned, he hadn't scored in so long. What fantastic numbers he has, but he does so many things well for you that even when he's not scoring, he's an integral part of your team. He's a great puck possession guy, good patience, he's a great forechecker, good penalty killer, great on the power play. I mean, he does so many things that coaches love having him on their team.
Filipino as the puck stripped and it's turned right back by Nugent Hopkins there. Nugent Hopkins tries to cut in, got a backhander in there on Crawford, who was ready for that. Here's Carcillo now. Carcillo, who played for both teams and ended up in the Stanley Cup final last season. Ended off with the Rangers, did not play in the final, did play in the playoffs a bit for them, but not in the Stanley Cup final against the Kings. So the power play is over. It's still a 6-0 game. 5 minutes to go here in the second period. There's Hosep. Can't corral the puck. Draisaitl resets to the back end and gets it back. Bounces off his stick. And they'll try again.
Hosa's one of those guys that every year he's up there in the top of the league in takeaways. He's a great stick. Takes away the puck. Good defensive player.
Personal snapshot. Save made by Crawford. Rolls the ball down that one, and he pays for it a little bit. Leans into by Hall. Turns it over. Hall in there. Rebound. Crawford with a post check. Broke it up, and they never really got a good shot. And now there's a penalty call coming up there as Roosevelt dumped Leon Draisaitl in behind the Chicago net.
That was a little bit of a tit for tat. I think he took a hard one in front, and that was a bit of a payback.
Snowy day here in Edmonton. Busy Saturday night around the National Hockey League as we take a look at the Budweiser Red Light scoreboard. Most of them are finals. Ottawa Senators lost this afternoon on home ice. Another shutout for Carey Price. Another win for the Canadiens against the Bruins. The Leafs do the fan salute at home, and Calgary Flames have cut the lead to 2-1 down the road for us.
Well, Roosevelt comes in and he's looking at number 29, all numbers, and he doesn't let up, and he takes him into the boards, and there's your penalty. And I think Draisaitl had taken a pretty good run at Roosevelt a few seconds before that, and probably why he decided to give him a little payback there. And the Edmonton Oilers will go back on the power play.
0 for 1 tonight. They control the draw, get it back to Justin Schultz. There's a one-time rocket that's wide of the mark. Corralled by Taylor Hall. Hall trying to get it back to Schultz, and here comes Ben Smith. Puck was bouncing on him, so he just shovels that one into the Edmonton end.
You know, look at why the Blackhawks are such good penalty killers. They take away your time quickly.
Taylor Hall had missed 6 games with a sprained right knee that he suffered in a game here on a Saturday night. A few weeks ago against the Vancouver Canucks.
Driving to the net there, and Tanev just caught a piece of his shoulder, his hip, chipped his shoulder, and threw him off balance, and he hit that post hard. I think he's really fortunate. That's all it was. It looked a lot like Stamkos scored at the post.
Yakupov got that back to the line, and they control it. Perron goes across to Petrie. Petrie's one-timer blocked in front there by Smith. Check that. Yeah, that was Ben Smith with a shot block. Back to the line it goes. Getting it a sit-down is Petrie. Here's David Perron. Taken away by Seabrook. Again, Petrie holds the line. Bants a pass to Nail Yakupov. Yakupov snaps a shot, and Crawford, despite being screened there by Perron, makes a good stop. Nugent Hopkins in the corner. 30 seconds to go in the Oilers' power play. Puck is in front of the net, and they can't get a good shot away. And Altuve does the rest.
Anything that's on that dasher board, which is the yellow 8-10 inches of yellow that runs along the bottom, anything that gets along that dasher board is green light to apply pressure to the Blackhawks.
Nugent Hopkins waited a beat too long, and the puck stripped, and Brandon Saad races back the other way. Got Nordstrom with him. Nordstrom in there. Stopped by Foss. Comes across and makes the save. Good short-handed rush there for the Blackhawks. Here's Eberle. Angled out by Thomason. Stays with the play. In behind the net. Now in the corner. Hall down low there with Jordan Eberle. Goes back to Fane. Fane moves it across, and it bounces over the stick of Ferentz, and the Oilers got to clear the zone.
I think there's a point where you lose a puck like that. Your Ferentz is trying to keep possession of it. Take it back, give it to your partner, because you're giving the Blackhawks possession right away.
Now the Blackhawks have iced the puck. Gives us a chance to tell you about the 5th annual RBC Sports Day in Canada. Communities across our nation will celebrate the power of sports. Scott Russell quarterbacks the broadcast next Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern on CBC.
Got some really good penalty killers, and when they turn the puck over, they are off to the races, and they'll go to your net off the quick, and Nordstrom tries to deke out Boston. What a leg save.
Patrick Kane, right side, steps in over the line, high slot. Kane shoots, and he just missed it side. Loose puck comes out in front, but the Oilers are back in support. Hendricks moves it up to Steve Pinizzotto. Pinizzotto bumps into his man Glendening, who actually won the puck battle, and moves it up the boards. There's Roosevelt. Inside now for Kane. Dr. Brad Richards now about playing with Patrick Kane. He says he's kind of like a centerman that plays on the wing.
Yeah, I'd say he's a puck possession guy. He's his best when he has the puck. He loves it. If you're playing on his line, you want him to have it on his stick. He makes things happen. This line's had like 12 points combined in the last 2 games. They've been really good. Joel Quenneville said that. You know, he knows Kane is on his game when all of a sudden the puck is tracking with him all the time. He always has it.
Last minute of play in the
He goal in the last
second
2 games for the Blackhawks, against Calgary and against Dallas last week, which was their last home game for a while. They're on a 6-game road trip. They call it a circus road trip when the Barnum and Bailey Circus moves into the United Center. Next stop for them, Vancouver tomorrow night. Oilers out from behind their own net. Marincin into the middle now. Off the stick of Nugent Hopkins, who has to turn back, and he gets it to Martin Marincin. Marincin angled out by Seabrook. Shot well wide of the mark. And another penalty call coming up here. Going to be a high sticking call. As they talk it over. And this is going against Yonsu.
Careless use of the stick. He catches Bickle right in the face as he's spinning out in the corner there. And 17.5 seconds left. Face-off will come all the way down to the right. Victor Foss. And I don't know how you can argue that, but at the end of the day, you got to be in control of your stick all the time. And we saw the other night Yakupov take that one, and when you let your stick get away on you, you got to go serve it.
So another power play attempt for the Blackhawks. This is their 6th power play of the night. Long shot that Crawford just watches wrist wide of the mark. And Roosevelt deep in his own zone. And pass in and out of the skates there of Marian Hossa. And the Blackhawks will have a power play to start the 3rd period. 3 goals in the first, 3 goals in the second. It's been a tough night for these Edmonton Oilers on a hockey night in Canada.
Welcome back to Rexall Place. 3 goals in the first, 3 more in the second by Chicago. They lead 6-0 over Edmonton. And earlier today, well, not a surprise considering the time of year it is, some snow falling in Edmonton, approximately 5 centimeters. But that is no comparison to Patrick Kane's hometown in Buffalo. More than 2 meters over the course of 3 days. Sabres game canceled, Buffalo Bills game moved to Detroit, and there has been a lot of this going on. And Kane said, in fact, his buddies were going to his parents' house today to help shovel. Patrick himself also has a house in Buffalo. Tomorrow, his mom and dad are going over to try and find it. Gary and Dave.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we are about to start the third period. Thank you very much, Gene. It is 6-0, as Gene pointed out. Antti Raanta did not start. He was sick, couldn't go. Corey Crawford does get the start.
And it was just downhill from there for Edmonton. A couple of saves for Corey Crawford, and then the breakaway for Taves, and there's the 5th goal by Marian Hossa. 4 even strength goals, a couple of power play goals, but just some shoddy play by the Edmonton Oilers. It has not been a fun night for them. Breakdowns in all the areas that they have had issues with since the start of the season and have not been able to correct it. When you play a team like Chicago that takes those miscues and turns them into goals quickly, it turns out to be a night like this, and it's going to be a long one. Finishing.
And the Blackhawks start the third period the same way they started the second, which is on the power play. Joensuu still in the box. For that late high sticking call he took in the second period. 2 power play goals on the night for Chicago. Here comes Hendricks, short-handed, trying to go across to Gordon. And that was broken up. Rolls the ball now into the middle for Taves, who, by the way, had his second goal taken away from him. They have now given that to Chris Versteeg, so he can make it 6 different goal scorers for the Blackhawks tonight.
Which we thought it was going to be Versteeg. It looked like Versteeg, and you could see why they thought it was Taves, but it was clear that he never got a stick on it.
Third time this season that Chicago has scored 6. Third time this season that Edmonton has surrendered 6. Duncan Keith holds the line a couple of times, puts it into the corner there. Is looking for Hossa, who now is a 4-point night, a goal and 3 assists. So much for the slow start. Back to the line for Keith, takes a look, hammers it in there, and Fost makes the stop. Into the slot, turning his Taves, backdoor shot, got a good shot away, and Fost came across to get enough of that. Here's Hossa, Petrie watching him, side shoots, up high on Fost, makes another save, and it's cleared.
That's twice in that power play where Hossa is getting outmanned on the wall, and as soon as he gets into trouble, Taves the first time, then Saad the second time, pop into that top of the circle soft spot, and they get him the puck.
And Smith now out of the corner, in behind for Nordstrom. Nordstrom works it back to the line. Power play is over. Team's back at even strength. Hossa along the boards, can't get it past Kruger at the point. He'll come into open ice in the corner. Schultz is there. Up to Joensuu, who shovels this one to center. Shots are 21-14 in favor of Chicago. 14 shots for the Oilers against the Chicago team that leads the league at 37 shots per game.
Well, they started the season, they were struggling scoring goals at even strength, 5-on-5 play especially. It was a real battle for the Blackhawks. And in the past 7 2/3 games, they've scored 23 5-on-5 goals now. So they've figured that out. And you wonder what makes a guy like this tick. Well, 6-0 game, and you're on the power play, and Roosevelt makes an ill-advised pinch, doesn't get it out, and watch 81 bust all the way back through one Oiler right to the other. Back checking hard, and veteran play by the Marian Hossa.
Marian Hossa, who earlier this year got his 1,000 points against the team that made him a first-round draft pick way back in 1997. Did it against Ottawa. Here's Seabrook with a snapshot. Voss stood up and made that stop again. He's made a couple of good saves here to start the third. Hall steps in, drops it off for Ferentz. Wide shoots, and that is deflected up and out of play in the netting behind Corey Crawford.
Well, for the Edmonton Oilers, you want to come out and you want to have your best period of the night. You want to come out and try to win the third period and try to create some little bit of positive light on the end of this game that you can kind of move forward with, that you come out and at least you won the third period. But their body language just looks really defeated right now.
They're heading out onto the road for 3 games, starting with Dallas on Tuesday. In fact, 6 of their next 8 are on the road. And it appears as though their struggles against Western Conference teams will continue. They have yet to beat a Western Conference team this season. Bickle corrals that. He shoots it and snaring it with a glove will get this block.
Chicago, as I mentioned earlier, they track that puck so well. The tempo and the pace of their game is at a very high level. It's hard for some opponents to stay with them when they get that pace set. But they just get on the puck quickly. Good patient play, lots of time for a guy like Carcillo, who you don't want to give any time to get his head up and make a play to the open man.
And Carcillo, who missed 10 games with a right knee injury, returned last Sunday. Into the lineup, here comes Hendricks. Hard off the boards and in. Crawford, who was out of the lineup for a stretch, he was injured, but every game that he's been available for, he has started. Including tonight, his 10th consecutive start, even though he was scheduled to get a night off. Here's Holton trying to pick his way in. Now, the question for Joel Quenneville will become, in terms of his net mining, is will he start Crawford again tomorrow night in Vancouver? Johnny Oduya goes across to Jomerson, but pulls him outside the line. And Oduya clipped the referee on the back end of that play.
His arm and his shoulder, he landed extremely hard on that. I'm curious to how he got there.
Here's Saad. Couldn't release the shot. He's been open in the high slot for just a moment. Marincin now. It's it to Taylor Hall. As mentioned, Nikita Nikitin, their highest paid defenseman, a healthy scratch tonight. Here's Hall picking his way to the zone. Gets it back the line for Petrie. His blast tipped wide of the net.
I'm not sure if he's fully at 100%. I think there might be a few injuries that are involved as well, and it's hard to play up to your potential if you're banged up a bit.
He did have back issues earlier on, but when asked about it the other night when he was benched against the Devils, Dallas Eakins said, no, he's fine. Getting everybody to believe he's a healthy scratch tonight, but you're right, he has had back issues.
At any point in the season, most of your players are playing with something that's bothering them, whether be a little nick here or there, whatever it is, but most of the players play through a lot of it. You get something like a back, and it affects a lot of things.
Keith battling forward along the sideboards, along there with Everly, who tries to dig it free, but there in support is Versteeg. Versteeg to Kane, back to Versteeg, back to Kane, and it's taken away by the Oilers.
Oh, this, no Shaw, no Sharp in your lineup.
Locking in now on his backhand, there was Everly, got it in there, and forcing Crawford to make another stop. Here's Kane, who will drop it off for Chris Versteeg. Versteeg tried to center it off a skate to the line, and it did come out. Dolmanson was a beat late.
We talked about the schedule that's going to be hard on the Oilers of late, and they got Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis. I mean, and all those teams can put big numbers up on the wall, and they're going to have to really clean up some things here as they head out onto the road, and all Western Conference teams, which
10 straight against the West, Gary, and 18 of the next 19, as you saw in that graphic there, and they are 0-9-1 against the West.
It doesn't matter who you're playing. You got to win hockey games. West, East, it doesn't matter to me. At this point, you got to win games. You got to find a way to win games. Don't worry about where your opponent.
Carcillo out in front for Bickle inside, and Foss makes the shot.
Where they're from. I think you got least about where they're from and more about just getting your game in order.
Purcell trying to chip that one around Oduya, and nothing doing. Johnny Oduya. Guy was drafted 221st overall by Washington. Never played for them. Here's Hossa snapping a shot. That is blocked. He and Chalmerson have really become a great pair for them.
He's found a niche here. He really has.
13:08 to go here in regulation on a night at Rexall where it has been all Chicago on Hockey Night in Canada.
We talked about the dynamic duo of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and said they may be one of the strongest duos in Chicago history, but you got to go back, and Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita, two great Chicago Black Hall of Famers, won the Stanley Cup in 1961, and who could argue that they could be right up there with these two guys. But the great thing about these two lads, Kane and Toews, is their history book hasn't been finished yet. There's still a lot to be written, and already 2 cups in their pocket already.
Patrick Kane, who just passed the 500-point mark in now 535 games. And the thing about Patrick Kane, too, is that, we know he's a magic man. He scored so many big goals, great shootout winners, a cup-winning goal, but he just grows off the edge, according to Joel Quenneville, year after year.
It's his attitude. I think his attitude has changed a lot. He's come in better shape. He's recognized, where he fits and the kind of leadership he needs to have and the kind of player he needs to be in order to win on a regular basis and be a winner, and I think his attitude has changed. That's been the biggest thing.
Here's a turnover right under the stick there, and a good shot. Crawford down after making the initial save there on Arcobello. Down again, and Corey Crawford has got the puck. Off the turnover in the Chicago zone with a few mistakes they've made tonight, and it came from the rookie.
Crawford was out pulling a loose stick into the net. There you see it going into the net, and gets turned over by Clendening, and a little sloppiness here, and it's a bouncing puck that the Oilers pick up, and Crawford tracks it and right in front of him, and what a goal! Flashes the leather and picks that out of the air, and what a display he's put on for a guy who wasn't preparing to play tonight, and probably had mentally shut it off. Has looked pretty good.
Another scramble in front of Crawford.
There's another kick save.
Yeah. He's battling here. Schultz with a drive, scored! Justin Schultz with a shot. May have been tipped, but the Oilers are finally on the board.
I think Crawford's given it a couple of his D-men, come on, guys, 6-0. Don't change anything. We don't want to allow goals. You never want to allow goals. Teams that are good defensively, they don't like to give up nothing. There's the right kick save right there. And again, I think Chicago just getting a bit loose. They're getting a bit loose in their end. They're allowing pucks to come to their net, and the traffic of the Edmonton Oilers is good. The shot is in the right place, and a nice deflection right in front by Perron. And here's a guy like we talked about who produced some goals, and he was one of the most vocal Edmonton Oilers following the New Jersey game. And when you're going to make those kind of comments, you want to back them up, and a little too late for it by the goal for Perron.
A 10-point scored by number 57.
So they do give it to David Perron. He needed that. Nugent Hopkins was right in there as well, but Perron gets it on the tip. And he remains out there, tries to set it for Everly. Everly tries to step around Jarvis and throws it out for Perron. They can move in a forward there, and he's stripped to the puck.
Yours goes for by Perron.
So the Edmonton Oilers get their first goal since about 6 minutes and 21 seconds into the third period 2 games ago against the Vancouver Canucks.
28 goals last year for Perron, and he led all Oilers, and it looked like everything was just falling into place for him. And unfortunately, this year started, and he just could not get any rhythm going offensively, productivity-wise. And it's taken 20 games to get 2 goals. The Oilers just can't afford to have guys who they're looking for production from. They just aren't able to find it.
It's a 3-time 20-goal scorer. And there's some kind of traction for the Oilers.
It's like Prestige for Chicago. I mean, for 2 years, he just kind of disappeared. I mean, he was a 4-time 20-goal scorer. And they just keep waiting for him to find his way again. And this line may be the answer.
He's playing well tonight, isn't he?
He has played well. That line has been really good.
Oilers right back to work in the Chicago zone. Clendening chops it away. Bigelow puts it up the boards. Comes back inside the line. Deneau does the rest. Philip Deneau, former Defensive Forward of the Year award winner in the Quebec League for Victoria, a trophy named after Guy Carbonneau.
Well, another player they miss is Trevor Van Riemsdyk. I mean, Joel Quenneville could not say enough about the kid and how important he was to their team, and Clendening getting the chance to play with the injury of Van Riemsdyk.
Blocked the shot. He is out long term. Here's Keith. Wines, fires right on. Foss makes the save and holds his ground and covers up. Well, an entrepreneur with a major league connection thinks he has the perfect pitch. Will he bring his A game or strike out in the den? Catch an all-new Dragons Den Wednesday night at 8 on CBC.
10-12 to go here in the third period, and 6-1 Hawks lead. As we look at one of the great logos in NHL history. And
Chicago Blackhawks have loved playing here of late. 8-2 in their last 10 games at Edmonton. Face-off won and controlled by the Oilers in their own zone, but Saad's got it now. Keith flips it back to Hossa. Quickly to Seabrook, his one-timer wide of the mark. Marincin can't get it past Saad. Gordon takes a look, puts it up the boards where it's scooped up and skated away by Henry. The back check there by Hossa. Relentless in a 6-1 game.
Doesn't change the way he plays ever. And that's what you love about him as a player.
35 years of age. He'll be 36 in January.
You know, it doesn't look like he's lost a step at all. I mean, it looks like he's just 5 years ago, same thing. He just keeps playing the same way. And here's a guy that if he really wants to, he can easily play into his 40s.
Like the guy that was here last night, Jaromir Jagr.
So strong on the puck. When he has the puck on his stick, it's just hard to get it off him.
Oh, knocked off the puck there by Jalmerson, and Keith was back there, so is Richards. Puck is bouncing around, and now it's cleared by the Blackhawks. Here's Versteeg, 2-on-1 chance. Versteeg across, scores! Kane, top shelf. Patrick Kane's on the board.
On the rush, the whole length of the ice. This is about the fourth goal that they've scored like this, where they've taken it from their end, they've built up speed, they've had the numbers in place, and they make good little passes on the 2-on-1s. Defensemen now tend to bleed toward the puck on 2-on-1s. Right there, you see the defenseman bleeding over. They're forcing you to have to make a calculated pass, a saucer-type pass. Forwards work on these types of passes all the time. And Versteeg knew he was just waiting for him to go down. Similar to Saad's backhand saucer to Jonathan Toews that opened up the scoring of this hockey game. Versteeg lays one right over to Patrick Kane, and man, he wasted no time picking the top shelf on Fost.
The Chicago
7 different goal scorers for Chicago tonight. Second time this season, Edmonton has surrendered 7. That is a season high. They allowed 7 against Arizona earlier on in the season. Can you imagine, had you looked at the summary tomorrow, he's got 7 goals and Kane didn't get one? He's got one now, and he's got a 4-game goal scoring streak, too.
You mentioned that the line's been really good, and they haven't been like productive good. They've just been really good on the puck. They've made some nice plays, and I think all the things that Joel Quenneville talked about today with us, we saw tonight.
Bickle gets it back to the line. There's another blast right on. Fost rebound. Bouncing around. Gano's in there. Got the shot away. Philip Gano trying to score in his first NHL game. Carcillo. Into the middle of the ice. Comes near side now for Roosevelt. The defenseman has that taken away by Marincin. Here's a guy still looking for his first NHL goal. Martin Marincin. And he throws that one away to Roosevelt. Saad chips it back in. Petrie first to the puck. They'll chip it off the inboards, and it's met by Hall.
Here's the guy they got to sign too. Brandon Saad, Kruger, those are 2 guys they have got to get signed for next year. And we mentioned the money issues, $21 million kicking in for Toews and Kane next year. And we got $65 million, as I mentioned earlier, tied up with 15 other players. He's still got to sign 6 more guys, and those 2 guys are going to deserve it. I mean, pretty good players, right? So the cap's not moving enough. They're going to have to lose bodies, and players know that.
Brandon Saad, who had career highs last year with 19 goals. There's a shot, and Crawford makes the stop. You know, it's expensive when you win, and the Blackhawks do a lot of that, and they are in charge here tonight, up by 6 goals at Rexall. Welcome back to Rexall, which is emptying out as we speak here. Boy, the old red light's been getting to work out here, that's for sure. Here's the Budweiser red light scoreboard for scores around the league. It's now 4-2 in the only other game going on right now. That's on Sportsnet. New Jersey with a 2-goal lead over the Calgary Flames. Stamkos scored again tonight. How about the Islanders? Ripping off another win.
Might have to change that red light after the game. It might be new burnt out. And you know what? You look at Leddy, who was here in Chicago, and Boychuk in Boston. I mean, the Islanders were recipients of having cap space for teams that needed to get rid of players but couldn't take a player back in return. The Islanders were sitting there and go, okay, we'll take them. And look what it's done for them. And that changed their whole dynamic on the backside and beating the Penguins tonight.
Here comes Hall skipping into the zone. Looks for some late help, and it arrives with Jeff Petrie. Petrie towards the net, and he tries to keep it in, but it's skated away by Brad Richards. Richards in there against Petrie, and long reach broke that up. So more questions for the Oilers to answer. Here's Richards in, shoots it on Foss. Puck stays loose, he couldn't corral it. And for Steve, back to the line. Oduya back to Chris for Steve. A very difficult 48-hour shutout last night by the New Jersey Devils. And hammered here at home tonight by the Chicago Blackhawks right from the start. Scrivens got off to a shaky start. He got the hook. Foss came in. And the Oilers are staring at their 6th consecutive loss. And the Dallas Stars, who are starting to get a little something going themselves, that's up next. Here's Perron in behind the net. Yakupov with a little puck. He shoots. Crawford makes the save, and the rebound bounces out to the blue line. That's Yakupov, who has taken off that full face mask and now just has the shield on there.
7-1 game here. Something that you wore to start, you're not wearing now. I mean, it's odd that you would take it off at this point.
Deneau tries to get it deep and cannot. And it comes back for Clendening. Across the Roosevelt. Joensuu at center ice. Can't advance the puck, and it bounces into the Oilers zone. And Foss is not going to take any chances. We'll take another break with 5:06 to go here at Rexall on Hockey Night in Canada. There's a couple of proud parents who made the trip from Victoriaville tonight. That is Alain and Michelle, the parents of Philippe Deneau. Deneau was a first-round draft pick in 2011. And look at the group of players the Blackhawks had in 11. They had 2 first-round picks. Another one named Martin McNeil was taken 18th overall. Right now, he has 9 goals and leads the team in Rockford. And there's also another defenseman there, Klaus Dahlbeck, taking 79. They like him as well.
You look at Smith and Shaw at 139.
Yeah.
That's great scouting right there when you can pick up a guy like that. And you look at all those names, Schmidt, I mean, they have Kruger, all those guys were over 100 in the draft. I mean, that's finding some gems, and those guys are big parts of what the Chicago Blackhawks and the way they play are all about. And the draft is so important. As you talk to anybody around the game now, they'll tell you, you got to build your team through the draft. You've got to get good scouting, you've got to put money into your scouting, and you've got to find those players that have character and guys that you can build around. And they're not necessarily all first rounders. The Oilers will tell you that.
Well, that's the thing, you know, I'm thinking that as you're mentioning that, all the first overall picks and first rounders they have in this lineup, that it's yet to pay any kind of dividends. Kruger was hammered there.
Always showed a couple of big hits in this game.
In the corner, Thomerson tries to step around Arcabello. Ollie still battling with Kruger. And it's up the boards for Jesse Joensuu.
Those guys that went in the first overall here, these are talented players. You can't stand there and say they're not talented players. For some reason, they just haven't been able to mesh it together and get the answer to a winning recipe here. 8 seasons of this is just a lot to take.
Penalty call coming up here against Ferentz as the hard forecheck by Deneau draws a penalty. And the captain's going to the box.
It's been a tough game for all the defense of the Edmonton Oilers, and Ferentz gets in the group with all of them, and he reaches in and plays Deneau when he's chasing the puck down, and that's interference, and you're not allowed to do that. They'll give you a bump. You'll be able to take a little bump on somebody, but to play them that aggressively, That'll normally catch the eye of the referee, and 3:53 left to go, and they'll have to kill 2 or less of that right here as the Blackhawks go back to the power play.
And then a 7-1 game. Quenneville giving a couple rookies some power play time. Clendenning's out there, so is Deneau. He was lined up to take the draw, and then Taves said, no, you go over there, son, and I'll take this face off, and we'll try and get you a goal.
Absolutely. I mean, you have the luxury in this game of giving these guys opportunity, giving them more reps, getting more of a look at them.
Kane to Marincin to the line, not out. Clendenning corrals it, gets it to Brian Bickle. Bickle into the corner for Philip Deneau. There's Clendenning with a drive. Taves now out of the corner. Battle ensues there. Gordon is there. And this is Bickle. Marincin pins him. Comes free for Adam Clendenning. Back for Deneau. The captain out of the corner, banks it off the boards. Clendenning gets it a sit down. He goes across to Roosevelt. Cross-ice feed to Taves. Up top to Clendenning. Roosevelt, one-timer, big stop there by Boston. The rebound goes to Taves. Deneau walks into the corner, gives it up to Roosevelt. Back to Clendenning. Down low again to Roosevelt. Throwing it around here, not getting a whole lot of shots. There's Clendenning with one blocked by Henrik. Down low is Jonathan Taves. Taves gets it to Carcillo, who steps in off the bench. Blackhawks trying to complete a full change here on the fly with the long change as they keep that clock running. 16 seconds to go in the penalty to Ferris. Johnny Oduya snaps it in there, far set of his net, and it's put up the boards, met by Carcillo. Jalmerson goes across to Oduya, takes a look, blasts one that hits a body in front, and there's Ferris out of the box with less than 2 minutes to play in regulation. And what will be said, what will be reported, what will be written after these 2 games, Gary?
Man, I mean, you look at Eakins and that meeting he had on the ice with his team this morning, and after it was over, they all got off the ice, and the response that you get after something like that is what you got tonight, and those have got to be questions that people above are going to be looking for answers for, and again, something has to give here.
Taylor Hall snaps it in on Crawford. Again, a guy who found out he was going to play tonight not too long before the game started.
And it's like every coach does a ton of preparation. And you look at Dallas Eakins, and you got to know that this is killing him. That's absolutely killing him. Anybody that knows, that's been in his position, knows that you care. You care about the guys on the ice. I mean, he cares about himself too, but these kids that are out here playing, he knows this is a tough goal for them, and he knows that there's a certain breaking point in all this as well. You know, this is the thing, when a loss like this happens at home and your building is almost half empty before the game's gone through 2 periods. It's not good.
One last little piece of housekeeping here of this summary. They have now changed another goal for the Blackhawks. Seabrook's goal that we thought was tipped by Taves is now credited to Taves. So Taves, who had a second goal taken away, is now given another goal back. So he does have a 2-goal night. And it's now 6 different goal scorers for the Blackhawks.
Scrivens, you could tell the way he looked when the puck hit the glove that something got to it before it got to his glove, and that was the stick of Taves.
Final minute now as that shot goes wide off the stick of Ferretz. Like the fans who have remained here just waiting around to boo again, unfortunately. This team started the season with a 5-game losing streak, and they're going to lose their 6th straight tonight. Yakimov centers, and it goes wide of the net. Edmonton Oilers hit the road now for 3, looking for answers. They're looking for bodies now that Pouliot is hurt. Hall straight up the middle, final 10 seconds. Taylor Hall snaps a shot. second attempt, wide of the mark. And this one is over, officially, even though it was over a long time ago. Chicago comes into Edmonton and spanks the Oilers.
And a lot of questions, a lot of frustration, a lot of videotape, a lot of everything, as some teams would just take a videotape like that and just get rid of it because it's a one-off. But this is something that they've got to find answers for here in Edmonton, and that's the guy who's got to be the lead on that. And just dejection is what I look when I look at the body language of the players and the coaching staff leaving. It's dismay.
As the Oilers exit the ice, we'll tell you about our 3 stars tonight. Marion Hossa with a 4-point night, and Jonathan Toews, who did end up with a 2-goal evening, and Patrick Kane as well extends his goal-scoring streak. He put the final nail in the coffin tonight with a 7th goal at 7-1 at the final.